Alrighty, let's go. It's time for probably one of the last big releases of the year, in my personal opinion. Like the ones that are gonna drive big crowds, and that is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. A film that I did not have many expectations going in, but I am somewhat familiar with the lore. I have watched Game Theory. I have watched PewDiePie, Markiplier, and all them play the video game before. I have played it myself. I have FNAF Help Wanted VR, and I have played that, and I have found it very fun, a very interesting concept of a game that I always thought would make for a difficult film in terms of being faithful to the games. But luckily, there is such an incredible story behind it and lore, as shown in probably thousands of MatPat videos at this point. I have no idea that it could make for a good film. And so let's talk about it. The story is, we have our security guard, Mike Schmidt, who is in tough times, and he needs a job. He ends up getting this security job at Fazbear's Pizzeria, and it turns out that not all is as it seems. The story is a little weak in terms of for film quality, but when you realize that this is an adaptation of a video game with no story, or no outright story, it's all like hidden story, hidden details, and lore. This is actually a pretty fucking solid story for this film. So I will give it a Hot Pocket score for story. But this, I personally think that in this next category is where the movie shines, and that is the cinematics of it all. Man, the fact that they decided to go with actual puppets, like Jim Henson's creatures, to create the animatronics instead of going with just CGI animatronics, adds a whole nother level to this film that makes it so much better than it has any right to be, just because of how the animatronics were physical props and not CG. Because of that instant hand grenade score, and then the music that they had playing in the background to create some tension, was also really good. Overall, it was just a solid cinematic experience that it deserves an easy hand grenade score for cinematics. Directing was actually pretty solid. I really enjoyed the directing. I will talk about some of the issues I had closer to the expectations and experience portion of the video, but directing was pretty solid. Kept good pacing throughout the whole thing, so I will give it a hand grenade score because it was fairly explosive. I am willing to rewatch this film. Next up will be the acting, and Josh Hutcherson, great performance as Mike Schmidt. Some of the other two also had great performances. Piper Rubio and Elizabeth Lale had great performances as Abby and Vanessa, respectively. But Matthew Lillard is just a gem of a human being, and I love everything he does. It's really funny. Like, I don't know if it's really a spoiler, because if you're watching this, you've probably seen the cast announcements of how he plays William Afton, and if you're familiar with FNAF, you understand everything about it. And so, you know what the final twist is going to be. And I just thought it was funny that Matthew Lillard is involved in a final twist in a, like, horror movie again, and like 18 years apart. I just thought that was funny, and it was something that one of my buddies brought up as we were watching. But hand grenade for the cast. Fantastic cast, honestly. I wouldn't be opposed to them making a new one. Now let's talk about expectations and experience, and I didn't really have great expectations. I had a friend who really enjoyed the experience of the film. We had heard some positive word of mouth from other fans of the games, and the critics were not so high on it. And I see why. I see why on both sides, as it's very much a movie aimed at fans of the game, but there isn't enough to entice new viewers in, and that really hampers the ability of people who are unfamiliar with Five Nights at Freddy's to get into all of it, as it is a pretty rushed take on what was, I believe, like 3 or 4 games worth of lore that they built up to get to this moment in time in the lore. But I do really like how they built the story up. Some of the twists were good. I really liked one twist that I will not spoil, but good twist, and it's enjoyable. It's a fun watch, especially since we ended up having a fully packed theater for this film, and so we had a great time viewing it. It was a great experience. Everyone was in on it, and I guess I will say have one tiny little spoiler, and that is there's a diner scene near the beginning of the film where this waiter is talking to like these characters, and I was just like half paying attention for some reason. Like I wasn't fully comprehending, and then like 3 seconds in, I just finally pay attention, and the camera pans to the waiter's face, and it's Matthew Patrick of Game Theory is literally on the screen right there talking to them. And then it's so funny how he also gets to say his magnificent line and goes, well, that's just a theory. Easily made the movie for me. That was the best part of the film, because I just had a huge laugh about that, and the whole theater had a laugh. But yeah, I will give it a hand grenade because that experience was really good. So in conclusion, I will say that this is a hand grenade film. It is worth a rewatch if you're a fan. If not, don't watch it. My recommendations are, if you're a fan of the franchise, you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, go see it in theaters. If you're not, but you still want to check it out, watch it, stream it on Peacock if you have Peacock. If not, see if you have a friend who has Peacock, and then you guys do a movie night. Other than that, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below what your thoughts on the FNAF movie was. And other than that, I'll leave you guys to it.